President Duterte has taken the side of the Finance Department to not suspend fuel excise taxes. The DOF says the revenue from oil tariffs have already been allocated for government projects. To help poor households cope with rising fuel prices, the government will be handing out 200 pesos in monthly subsidies. Is this enough to help cover basic expenses? The Energy Department, though, sees fuel prices rolling back next week as global oil prices continue to dip. And it's time to say hello to summer. PAGASA has announced the end of the northeast monsoon or amihan and the start of the dry season. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Sean Yao. The government will now focus on distributing more subsidies after Malacanang agreed to not suspend the excise tax on fuel. Mobile journalist Pam Vasquez reports.
Despite 11 straight weeks of oil price hikes, President Duterte has decided not to suspend fuel excise taxes.
Sabi po ni Secretary Dominguez, and this is sustainable, this is something that we can sustain, and this is something we can afford as of this time. So I hope that, Mr. President, you will support this recommendation. The President answers okay.
The Energy Department had been pushing for it for several weeks to help cushion the impact of skyrocketing pump prices. But Duterte chose to side with Finance Secretary Sunny Dominguez, whom he listens to on matters of the economy. Dominguez had been warning about the impact on social programs if the government lost more revenue.
If we suspend the fuel excise taxes under train, it will reduce the total government revenue by 105.9 billion pesos in 2022. If we will continue to spend the same amount of money, we will have to borrow more money.
Dominguez also argued that cutting the tax will only benefit the rich.
We have analyzed it and we know that the top 10% of income earners in the Philippines consume almost 50% of all the fuel. If we look at the bottom 50% of the Philippines, they only consume 13% of the fuel. So cutting the tax will benefit more the people who have cars.
Instead, the DOF wants to focus on distributing targeted subsidies. Duterte has also approved the DOF's recommendation to approve ayuda of 200 pesos per month for 1 year to the bottom 12 million households.
This is not enough, but this is what we can afford as of this time to make sure that our finances going forward, and especially for the next administration, are still going to be healthy.
There may be some relief in sight. Global prices of crude have fallen sharply overnight. Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi said that means we may see a rollback in local prices next week.
Sa gasolina, pwede po tayong bumaba ng mga 5 pesos pahigit at sa diesel po, pwede naman pong magbaba ng 12 peso pataas.
But transport groups nationwide vow to continue holding protest strikes this week. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez, We Are One News.
The government plans to roll out 200 pesos in monthly subsidies to the poorest of the poor. But is this enough for a family? Jenny Dongon tells us in this report.
Malacanang has approved the Finance Department's proposal to provide a 200 peso monthly subsidy for poor families. This is meant to ease the impact of soaring fuel prices. But how exactly can this help poor families? For Aling Abe, who has 4 kids and depends on her husband's 15,000 monthly salary, this is not enough.
Nakaka-insulto talaga yung ganun. 200? Hindi naman sa inaano yung... Kasi tulong nga din lang yun eh. Hindi sa tinatawaran yung tulong. walang mararating yun.
Our news team gave Aling Abe 200 peso to find out how they can budget the amount. She immediately bought a kilo of rice and proceeded to the vegetable stall. In the end, Aling Abe's meal was able to buy eggs, dried fish, and vegetables. She had 9 pesos in change. Overall, she says the 200 peso is just good for 2 meals for a family of 6.
Sa mahal nga ng bilihin, ang isda kasi ngayon, pinakamurang kalahating kilo, 120 na rin. Gulay lang talaga. Ayan, may tuyo. Imbis na isda, tuyo. May itlog din naman.
Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III admits the proposed amount might not be enough, but this is all the government can afford to give for a year.
To make sure that our finances going forward, and especially for the next administration, are still going to be healthy, this, I believe, is what we can afford.
The bottom 50% of Filipino households are expected to receive the cash aid. Funds for the subsidy will be sourced from value-added tax collections from oil products. However, there's no timeline yet on when the government can release the 200 peso monthly financial aid. For News 5, Jenny Dongon, We Are One News.
Here are other election-related stories we're watching today. Basilan Representative Mujib Hataman has formally endorsed Vice President Leni Robredo for president. Hataman says Robredo has been consistently present whenever there are calamities and conflict in the province. Presidential candidate Bongbong Marcos says he is open to appointing opposition members to his cabinet should he win in the May polls. Marcos says his focus is on hiring competent people, whether or not they are allies. Presidential bet Leody de Guzman backs NEDA's proposal for a 4-day work week amid soaring fuel prices. But the labor leader says there should be no deductions from the salary and benefits of workers should the government push through with this kind of work setup. And Senator Manny Pacquiao says the 200 peso monthly subsidy for poor households is not enough. Pacquiao is urging the government to allot a bigger budget for the planned handouts. We're going to pause for a quick break, but we will be back with more stories after that. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. More and more shops are capitalizing on the national elections to sell products. Just like this milk tea shop that offers drinks named after presidential candidates. Laila Pangilinan with that story.
As election season heats up, this milk tea shop hopes to break the ice by offering drinks named after presidential candidates. Care for some iskokis and cream? Or maybe you prefer the Lenny Strobredo. You can also get the Puto Bongbong. Or if you're not into that, maybe a peach lakson? But if you need something to wake you up, there's Manny Macchiato!
Na-inspire kami doon sa ilang mga convenience store na yung may mga pwede kang pumili ng mga baso kasi nung presidential candidate ang gusto mo. Sinubukan namin na i-link yung pangalan ng mga kandidato sa mga flavors. Kaya yun, nabuo namin itong Uhaw Ka Ba election series.
Not only can you show support for your preferred presidential bet, but you can also help struggling MSMEs like this milk tea shop.
Naisipan namin makisabay kasi campaign period, di ba? Campaign season. Gusto rin natin malaman kung ano pulso ng taong bayan. Lalo ngayon, panahon ng napakainit ang panahon ngayon. Talagang dito mo malalaman kung sino talaga yung uhaw sa pagbabago.
Many customers were also pleased with the concept. Vin and Nida bought the election series drinks. Vin chose iskokis and cream, while Nida picked Puto Bongbong.
Iba, hindi lang yung typical na cookies and cream.
For Nida, this doesn't mean that she supports Bongbong Marcos.
Ngayon ko lang kasi na ano yung Puto Bongbong na flavor. Parang gusto ko lang siya i-try.
Just like one popular convenience store, the milk tea shop will also announce which presidential-inspired drink was bought the most before the May elections. For News 5, Laila Pangilinan, we are One News.
Let's now take a quick look at today's other top stories. The Health Department clarifies that Alert Level 0 is not yet officially part of the COVID-19 risk classification levels. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres said Alert Level 0 is a term used internally by the DOH and the IATF. Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Carl Chua says hiking wages and fares could push inflation up by 1.4%. Chua warns that if that happens, the prices of basic commodities in the market, as well as interest rates of loans, will likewise increase. And summer is officially here. PAGASA has declared the end of the Northeast Monsoon or Amihan, paving the way for the start of the dry season. The State Weather Bureau advises the public to take precautionary measures, such as staying hydrated, in order to minimize heat stress. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Masks on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I am Sean Yao. We are One News.